Hello, Raleigh. This is Whitney for Raleigh, Whitney Hill. I want to talk to you about light rail commuter train service in Raleigh. Fortunately, this has, I guess, officially been nuked. I watched a transportation committee meeting uh, last night, and I think the meeting was earlier this week, and uh, it evidently has been put on hold indefinitely. I'm going to go back. I talked about this back when it was being proposed back about a year ago. Back then it looked to me like sort of good time rock and roll. Yeah, we're just going to do this $2 billion project, at least to get started. And there was going to be $1 billion of federal funding, which it's really hard to stand in the way of that train of $1 billion of federal money coming down. But I'm going to go back to my earlier comments on this. And the number one issue on this is who's going to write it. They always want to tell you, and they've been trying to get this in for quite a while. I can go back to when I was real active in the chamber and they were trying to promote this and get this put in. But the number one thing is who is going to write it. And I would maintain that in order for light rail to be successful, there would have had to be a regular ridership on it. In other words, people who are commuting to work. Now, we're in the day age now of folks telecommuting. And, one of the things that Paul Fitz ran on with this was that we've got to get into 21st century technologies and uh, people riding into work on trains is not one of them. And that is the truth. Right now, I think about two-thirds, what I understand, two-thirds of state workers who used to work downtown are now telecommuting into work. So why are we pushing to have a rail system put in when a major amount of our workers no longer physically go into work? So the big question of who's going to write it, there are entities that are going to write it, but it wouldn't have been maintained by folks writing into work with it. There's just not enough people who would have used it to write into work even before the pandemic and commuting became such a big thing. The second thing is the airport was not going to allow it to stop there, be part of that. Why? My guess is just too much parking money would be lost. I mean, that's my guess. I might be wrong about that. They may have had their other reasons. I never heard a really good reason why the airport wouldn't let it stop there. To make this work, I think you you know could have gotten a lot of traffic coming into the airport where people could park remotely and take the train in, and if it was going to stop there, but that wasn't going to happen. Who's going to pay for it? Well, like I said, there was going to be start off being a $2 billion project, half of it being paid for by the federal government, but the taxpayers were going to have to pick up the other billion, at least, and I say the first billion, because these projects never end up coming in on budget. 10-year project, I can assure you that there would have been more money that would have had to be put into it, but there would have been $1 billion would have to be paid for by the taxpayers. That means a bond issue and your tax dollars going up for a city where most people would not be utilizing it but having to pay for it. And then the question is, after it's built, who was going to pay for the operation? Because the subscribership wouldn't have covered the operation of this. I mean, it's just no way. So, um, the other question was during the construction, obviously, there's going to be an effect on our regular traffic, 10-year project, traffic, the construction affecting our regular traffic. So In the long run here, though, the official reasons for nuking the project was that it was going to take too long and be too costly. I think that's a really way to say that the project just was going to cost a lot of money and no one was going to write it. So I'm glad to see that good sense prevailed here and we didn't build a big white elephant that was going to have long term costs to the taxpayers to operate and short term costs as well. And of course, anytime a bond issue is done and a tax increase comes in, that tax increase is generally permanent. When the bond's paid off, they don't reduce your taxes down. So anyway, that is what I see on this. I'm glad to see that good sense ruled on this, and we're not going to build the light rail. They are going to do some things using the regional system. I think I mean, there's already a connection with Raleigh and Durham, I guess, on that. And they are going to work to expand that to connect Raleigh to Wake Forest. And that's a good thing. If we got a regional system in place and we can use that for some short-term traffic, that makes a lot of sense to me. So this is Whitney for Raleigh signing off. I appreciate you watching this video. Hit the subscribe button if you like getting these. Whitney for Raleigh signing off.